all sales is, it's a transfer of energy. Sales is a conversation with the desired result attached to the end of it. My name is Stewart Jr., and what we're going to be talking today is how to be an elite salesperson. How can being a linguist absolutely change your life? How can you make millions of dollars just speaking for a living? That's why I love sales, because there is no inventory other than self-inventory. We'll get into more of that type of stuff later. This first video, what we're going to be talking about is basic concepts of sales, introductory sales. You can never fully be something until you understand it. There are professional athletes out there. They may have more skills naturally, but what they learn is the basic fundamentals, and that's what made them professional athletes. There are tons of people playing schoolyard ball, or maybe tons of golf out on the golf course, but what they didn't take the time to learn is the basic fundamentals. And that's what we're going to be going over in this video and all videos going forward. Because if you want to make millions of dollars or be highly successful, you need to be an excellent salesperson. Where you're at right now compared to where you want to be, the only difference is your ability to articulate yourself, your ability to sell. It doesn't matter if you're trying to make money, if you're trying to be a great parent, if you're trying to communicate with your son's school, be in a good relationship. Sales is literally part of every single conversation that you have. I'm going to teach you some things that I've learned over the years, but then I'm also going to add my own twists to them as well. Now, it's important to understand these things because the more you can consciously understand conversations and sales, you can start to identify where you are in the process. And when you identify where you're in the process, that's when the real meticulous or deep-rooted skills come in. That's where the techniques come in order to move the conversation forward. Which brings me to my first point. We'll be talking about today only why sales is important and how it will be used. And then we'll talk a little bit about what sales is not, and then what is sales. So this particular one right here, I may not get to in this video. We may end up having to do a secondary video because this one is a little bit longer than these initial three. So this first one, why is sales important? So sales is literally in everything that you do. Like I was saying earlier, if you're a parent, a lot of times you're trying to get your children to go to bed on time. And you can just be an authoritative parent and say, when your children ask, why do I need to go to bed? Why do I need to do my homework? You can answer the way my parents did and just said, because I said so. That's an authority point of view. And all that's going to lead to is rebellion. Because when you confront somebody like that, what you're doing is you're approaching a conversation where you're squaring off with the individual. If you want to be persuasive, you want to earn people over to your side, and you want a relationship that has longevity, where you can be influential, you don't want to square up with the individual. You want to learn how to relate and identify with the individual. So you're actually turning and you're both looking at a situation together. That's the difference between being an authority and being a persuasive salesperson. So you need to know certain tips and techniques in order to even be a parent with a rebellious child. If you're in a relationship, sales is important because it literally enters its way into every conversation. If you and your significant other are thinking about going seeing a movie and she likes romantic comedies and you like action, you both agree that you want to go see a movie, but it's one or the other person selling them on why we should see a romantic comedy over an action. And it could be as simple as, well, we went with yours last time. If you've been in a long-term relationship, that's not always a good enough reason. You need to give supporting reasons, fact-finding, things like that in order to be persuasive. I use sales all the time with the relationships that I have with my son's school teacher in order to maybe get him out of trouble or persuade her that he's trying harder than he is, or persuade her that I'm actually going to influence him to do better in school, or whatever the situation is. So these are just everyday circumstances of why sales is important. And the reason why I talk about that is because a lot of people that have professions that don't have sales title in it, they think sales is insignificant to me, when really it's just an everyday part of life. I'm going to give one last example. My mother's an inner city school teacher. She's been an inner city school teacher for 46 years. And I have been around a lot of curriculum, a lot of teachers. Very few teachers have made a significant impact in my life. But I have been able to witness the pattern to identify those teachers that did make that significant impact. What was the differentiator? The differentiator is they were great salespeople. They were teaching the same curriculum, but it was their delivery that was different. They made me want to learn it. They made me understand why it was important. They made it engaging and entertaining. They had games. They made me want to meet them halfway, as opposed to another teacher that would just sit there and say, today we're learning mathematics. We all know this teacher. A plus B equals C, except when you take into consideration that D is not part of the equation. See, that's not being a salesperson. A lot of people, like teachers or attorneys or whatever it is that you do for a living, when you ask them, what do you do for a living? They say, I'm a teacher. No, that's your profession. That's not what you do for a living. Because yeah, sure, the teacher's profession is to draft up the curriculum, which is the material that they are going to teach the student, but that's their profession. What they do for a living is they deliver the curriculum. They invite the student in and they make the student want to learn the curriculum. And they do that through delivery. And what I'm here to teach you over the next couple of videos, if you follow me on YouTube, or if you follow me on Instagram or any of the social platforms, or maybe go to my website to come to some of my free webinars, I'm going to be teaching you the exact fundamentals of how to do this. For me, I was always a silent child. I kept to myself. I internalized a lot of things. Being articulate ended up becoming a survival instinct for me because it was something necessary. I realized really quickly I needed to hide things from the school system or maybe from people outside of the family. And I realized really quickly that my ability to articulate myself and distract the other person, the authority, greatly increased the probability that they wouldn't ask as many questions. I can divert their attention over here so they wouldn't ask questions over here. Therefore, it was a learned behavior. And as I developed that muscle and got older, I started to utilize it more. I started to study it more. I started honing in on the craft. The whole point of me saying is it doesn't matter the reason why you're getting into sales, whether it's to be a better parent, whether it's to be a better professor, whether it's to make millions of dollars. It doesn't matter what level you're getting into sales, whether you're a natural linguist, whether you've got the gift of gab, or whether you're a silent person and you just want to learn, you're what I call the educational variety. You need to learn the basic fundamentals. That is exactly how it will be used in your life. You use sales in every aspect of your life, no matter what it is that you do. Now, really quickly, we're going to go through what sales is not. Sales has a negative connotation because when we think of the word sales, we're constantly thinking of used car salesmen. We're thinking of sleazy salespertons, as I call it, people that are manipulating. But sales is not manipulation. It could be, but sales can also be persuasion. And this is where I talk about the difference between persuasion and manipulation. Manipulation is when I'm having a conversation with you and there's a desired attached result to it, and that result only benefits me, that is manipulation. But a great salesperson with a conscience understands that when I'm having a conversation with you and I'm fact-finding, I'm understanding your problems and needs analysis, and it aligns with a service or product that I can provide for you, that is persuasion. Because a lot of times when I'm in sales, my counterpart, they need permission to move forward. They want to move forward, even if it logically makes sense. But what I need to do is I need to transfer the energy so that they give themselves permission to spend the time and money or whatever resources they're relinquishing in trade for the desired outcome. So sales, what we're learning, what it is not, it's not a bad word. So sales, much like negotiation, it's not a battle of the will. It's not who can talk over the other person. It's not who can persuade the other person. It's not who can talk the most or who can listen the most. All sales is, it's a transfer of energy. Sales is a conversation with the desired result attached to the end of it. We have conversations every day. Think about a flow state when you're with your friends. You guys are in the same energetic field. That's why you're friends. You know those friends that you don't talk to for a really long time, but then you pick up the phone and talk to them 10 years later, and it's like the conversation never skipped a beat? The reason why is because you guys are at the similar flow state. You have the same desires, you have the same interests. It's so easy to be yourself around them. When you are an articulate or skillful salesperson, you can master this skill with strangers, and therefore you can dominate strangers if you want. You can use it in a manipulative manner, or you can be a good person and use it in a persuasive manner. But what I want to teach you is how to logically tap into that energetic state. Because once you understand that sales is just a conversation with a desired result attached to it, and hopefully that desired result is beneficial to both you and your prospect, you can go around and change the world. And when you start changing the world, you start changing your world. And most of the time, you change your bank account. The whole point of this video is to talk to you and say that sales is not a bad word. We go to college often to, I don't know, because I kind of went to college, but that's a whole side fact. But one thing I realized in college is they don't teach you sales, because they don't teach you that sales is part of your everyday life, no matter what you're doing, even if you don't hold a job when you're older. If you're a career felon, you're in sales persuading the judge not to lock you up and throw away the key. You are selling every single day of your life. When you're in college, you go there to learn a profession, thinking, oh, if I end up in a sales job, I'm going to fail. I was talking to an attorney once, and I told him, I said, you must be one of the best attorneys I've ever met in my life, because you have one of the biggest law firms in Connecticut. And he says, I'm not a great attorney. I'm actually below average. And I was baffled. I didn't understand it. And he says, Alan, I'm a great marketer and I'm a great salesperson. Marketing is a totally different subject, which we'll get into. But that really hit me. It hit me on a profound level. He admittedly said, I'm not the best at my profession. What I am good at is I am good at selling. I'm good at selling people why they should go with me over the next person. There are specific skill sets that you can learn and adapt no matter where you are in your ability to articulate, where I can teach you logically how to start a conversation, how to hold it, and how to close it with intention, how to bring your own energy up, how to provoke energy out of the other person, how to be persuasive, how do I understand the other person's needs. So in the next video, what we're going to be talking about is going over the basic fundamentals and the structure of what I believe to be a sales process. Because once you understand that, you're going to be able to understand where are you in a conversation, and that way if it gets off the rails, you can bring it back to where it should be in order to progress it forward, or in order to terminate the conversation. I'm Alan Stewart Jr. If you found any value, please like or comment. Come visit me on any of my social channels. It's at Alan Stewart Jr. across all platforms, or just visit me on my website. If this is something you want to learn, I do one free webinar every single month, and you can hop on that, and maybe I'll get you out to one of my live events.